thank you for joining us on this video today. My name's Oliver Deed. I'm from a community engagement consultancy called ECF, and we are working with Enfield Council on some on-street and loading provision engagement work at the moment. Over the last few days, we've circulated a couple of A3 maps of plans for some proposed changes in Enfield Town, as well as a detailed FAQ sheet and a survey about those particular changes. But we thought we'd record this video today to ensure that people have as much access to the information as possible and hopefully help people understand some of the changes that are outlined in the map. I'm joined by Andy Graham from NRP, who are transport consultants working with Enfield Council on these particular proposals. So Andy's going to share his screen in a moment and take you through the existing situation in Enfield Town and talk about some of the proposals coming up. So without further ado, Andy, please share your screen and back on.
Yeah. Sure, thank you, Ollie. Okay, just to confirm, Ollie, you can see that?
Yeah, that's in view, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, well, just to give a brief overview, we're proposing some changes to the parking and loading in Enfield Town, and this was based on the demand surveys that have been undertaken. So some loading surveys have been undertaken over a 4-day period to understand what the loading demands are in the area, and the proposals that I'll go through in a bit more detail in the areas, in individual areas. That's where we've got to with those those provisions. So as Ollie mentioned, as part of the engagement, you may have received a couple of maps, and both of them are shown on my screen. The one on the left showing the existing curbside restrictions, and then on the right, the proposals. And just to give you a little bit of a guided tour around them, yeah, they are showing, you've got a legend that will show you the curbside restriction and the times that they're in operation. And on the proposed plan, we also have a table that summarizes the changes, and the changes being quoted in vehicle lengths. So for instance, on Church Street, we have loading bays. Currently, there's space for 9 vehicles to load. In our proposals, we're changing it to 7. So obviously the difference is -2 vehicles. So that's just to explain what this table is showing in a bit more detail. And what I'm going to do now is just go street by street, just to give you a bit more of a picture of the changes on these plans. So if you just bear with me, I'll start from the west, and I'll go to the east. First area we're going to talk about is Church Street, and here we've got currently single yellow line and a little bit of double yellow line. That is being removed entirely. So the yellow line on the existing plan on the left indicates areas that you can load from, indicated by the yellow line. But that will be removed as part of the proposals. It's worth mentioning as well that areas of single yellow line, you are able to park between 6:30 p.m. and 8 a.m. But we will be removing that ability to park on Church Street under these proposals. Further to the east, we have Little Park Gardens here, and this is Church Street coming round here. So we've got some double yellow line that is being shortened. So some double yellow line will be retained. Then we have currently some parking bays, which is indicated in the blue section here, and also some loading bays shown here. In the proposals, we're removing the parking and the loading bays to the west, but we're retaining the loading in this section, and the light blue bays are indicating blue badge bays that we'll be introducing to the area. So only people with blue badges will be able to park. And then this little green section is showing where we're introducing some motorcycle parking. It's worth mentioning that on the plans, you may see some areas where you have a single yellow or orange, which indicates double yellow lines with a dashed marking. That indicates a blip curbside marking, and where those are present, there is a loading restriction applied to those areas of curbside. So currently, no loading can take place between 8 AM and 8 PM, as shown on the plan. The plans also show the loading restrictions of the loading bays, clearly marked, and the loading that we're talking about is a maximum of 40 minutes, and that is applicable for both the proposed scheme and the existing situation. Continue to the east along Church Street. Not much has changed really under the proposed scheme, although we are removing a small section of single yellow line with a single blip, and then double yellow line with the single blip. And it's worth mentioning also that access to Burley Way will be retained under the proposed scheme, and there's no changes to the proposed parking and loading on Burley Way. Further to the east, we've got the market square and the town. So currently there's some double yellow line outside the market, but we are removing that as part of the proposed scheme. And then when we get to the town, on the existing situation, we have some loading bays here and some single yellow line, but we're making all of that, most of that space as a loading bay. And then we're removing the pay by phone on-street parking provision and replacing it with disabled parking bays. And then to the south of this, we're retaining the motorcycle parking indicated in the green section, and we're introducing a taxi bay indicated on the purple. So overall, we're retaining the loading provision as best we can, but introducing more disabled bays and also introducing a taxi bay, retaining the motorcycle parking. As we continue, we are on Southbury Road now. We are retaining some double yellow line with a single blip at this area here, so that won't change. And then further towards St Andrews, we are removing the double yellow lines and single yellow lines and introducing this light green area, which will be a pick-up and drop-off area that will be associated with the train station. There's quite a significant change at the Southbury Road section, where Coleman Parade is currently an area for parking with an electrical vehicle parking charging station. this will be removed, and it will be replaced with a single loading bay for two vehicle length loading bay. And then further along Southbury Road, we have single yellow line currently on both sides of Southbury Road, but that will be removed as part of the proposed scheme. Just heading back, I'll just talk about the changes on Little Park Gardens as well. So as you can see, we have some double yellow line indicated in the orange and a single yellow line indicated in the yellow, the majority of which is being removed. And then on this section here of Little Park Gardens, we have some residential bays indicated in the pink, and the green indicates the existing business permit bays. They're going to be consolidated to the north, so there'll be a space for 4 business bays and 4 residential bays in Little Park Gardens. So this black line indicates that there won't be any resident or business bays on this southern section of Little Park Gardens. And additionally, there will be some changes to the double yellow line arrangement, and we will be changing the parking arrangement slightly in this section, where currently in the dark blue we have on-street parking bays. They're going to be replaced with disabled blue badge bays, and there won't be any double yellow line or opportunity to load in this section here either. Now, Sarnesfield Road, if I just pan across, currently we have a lot of single yellow with single blips. So loading can take place between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. in this area. We have in the proposals reduced this area quite a bit, but we will retain as much as we can. But as part of the proposals, we are introducing, again, blue badge bays on the northern section here, and then a row of 3 blue badge bays to the south of Sarnesfield Road. Moving on to Cecil Road. As you'll notice, there's quite substantial changes to Cecil Road, because we have single yellow line for the majority of the length of Cecil Road. Now this is being replaced with short sections of double yellow line, single tick. That means that only loading will be permitted now under this proposed scheme, and it will be restricted for these times. So loading will only be able to take place between 10 a.m. and 7 a.m. and then again between 7 p.m. and 3 p.m. And that's the pattern throughout Cecil Road, as we are removing the single yellow and double yellow line along the length of Cecil Road. But these small areas of curbside will be introduced to allow a window of loading, and we've been careful to locate these, because obviously we want to ensure that they don't affect any driveways. So they are on curbside where they won't be affecting any drives. So residential access will be maintained. And then, as you can see on the left, comparing to the proposals, we are removing some existing on-street parking bays indicated on the blue here. So we will remove those as part of the proposed scheme. And I think on Raleigh Road, a little section of double yellow line will also be removed, and the single yellow line to the west of Sydney Road. And then we have London Road here. So there's a slight change here where to the southern section of London Road, we are removing a section of single yellow, single tick marking, and moving the loading bay that's currently on the eastern curb. That will now be on the west in the proposed location. And this loading bay will be accompanied by a disabled parking bay to the south of it. And further north, the sections of single yellow bay will be removed, and it will be replaced by a double yellow line with a single tick. And there'll currently, there'll be a slight change to the parking and loading arrangement on the northern section of London Road. And finally, Jeniton Road. There are two sections of where loading is permitted, indicated in the orange, but as part of the proposed scheme, we will be removing those as well. It's worth mentioning as part of the proposed scheme that while we are removing parking, there will be opportunities to park in some of the loading bays, and they are indicated on these signs here. So parking will be permitted for a short duration between 6:30 and 8 a.m. And that's to encourage the evening economy. And there are three loading bays where this will take place. One on London Road to the south, in the town on the southern section only, and again on the southern section of Church Street, indicated by this sign here. That brings me to the end of the comparison between the existing and proposed situations, and I'll hand back over to Ollie.
Thanks, Andy. Just a very quick question. Can we just examine the blips? And I think this is terminology that people might not be that familiar with. So we've got the dashed lines. So we've got just to clarify, what does a single yellow line with a single blip mean?
Okay, so single yellow line means that you can park after a certain time, and you can load at any time. But if there's a blip, so a single yellow line with a blip, that means that you can't load, and that there will be a sign indicating when loading can take place or not, as the case may be. So, for instance, this single yellow, single blip will have a sign on street. This is the existing situation. And normally, if it was a single yellow line with no blips, you could load whenever. With the blip markings, that's a loading restriction, which means that you can only load between 6:30 p.m. and 8 a.m. in this example. So whenever there is a blip marking, that will indicate that there is a time that the loading restriction takes place.
And then for a double yellow line with a single blip?
Again, very similar. So the difference between a single yellow and a double yellow: single yellow you can park, double yellow you can't, unless you have blue badge. Now the double yellow with a single tick or blip, as shown as an example here on Jeniton Road, That means that you can't park there at all unless you have a blue badge. But during this time, you can't park with a blue badge or load during these hours. So the single blip means that there's a loading restriction. That covers blue badge bays as well. So I forgot to mention that, sorry, with the single yellow lines, with the single blip markings. But the where we have the blip markings with the double yellow line, that means that yeah, you can't load again in this situation between 6:30 and 8 a.m.
And a blue badge holder would or would not be able to park there between 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m.
So to clarify, the blue badge holders would not be able to park during the hours of the restriction. So they won't be able to park there between 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, thank you for that, Andy. Well, we will obviously upload this recording and make sure it's circulated as widely as possible, because hopefully this will give people a really good idea of the changes that are being proposed. Sometimes it's hard to see on a map itself and compare and contrast what the changes are. So hopefully that will really help people understand what's being proposed here. And it's just worth saying that we do have a survey running on letstalk.enfield.gov.uk/Enfield Town. So these are obviously proposals at the moment. So we would encourage as many people as possible living within this area to respond in terms of loading and on-street parking requirements. So Andy, thank you very much for your time. We'll draw proceedings to a conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you.